This happened in 2005 but still plays on my mind from time to time. I was working the customer service, returns desk at a hypermarket, UK word for a large supermarket that has more than just food, when a woman came up with a pair of jeans wanting to return them. Women, I want to return these. They are ripped. Me, yes, they are pre-ripped jeans. Few people have made that mistake. Women, I know they are pre-ripped jeans but they are ripped. Me, so you want pre-ripped jeans but you don't want them ripped. Women, yes. We cycled through this conversion like 4 more times with her explaining each time that she wanted pre-ripped jeans and that these were ripped. As they hadn't been worn, I proceeded the refund as there was a line forming but I was confused for the rest of the day. It's been 17 years since then and I still don't get what she meant. I worked at a big box office supply store for many years, essentially acting as an unofficial assistant manager. One day in the week leading up to Easter we had an older lady come in, march up to the cash register, and declare if we were open on Easter Sunday she would never shop in our store again. I explained that we don't get to decide that at the store level and it is decided by corporate. She left unhappy and on the Monday after Easter she came back in to return all of her recently purchased items. I have no idea if she came back as she wasn't enough of a regular for me to recognize, and if she didn't I have no idea where she shopped after that since basically no one closes for Easter Sunday anymore. So I've been a shift supervisor for a retail drugstore chain for over a decade. An unfortunate part of my job is that I get cursed at, a lot. I sometimes joke that I am immune to it. So many years ago I was working at a store in a not-so-good area. There were constantly homeless panhandlers outside. One group of them, we called them the drunks for obvious reasons. They were becoming such a nuisance that we decided to exercise our right to refuse service and refuse to sell them alcohol. They could buy anything else but alcohol. They didn't take it well but it kept them away. This particular day I get a complaint about panhandlers outside, so I go out to tell them to leave. It has the drunks and they have a new friend. We call him John for this story. Before I tell them to leave I see one of the drunks handing John some money and overhear Bud Light. The drunks leave and John makes his way to the beer section and picks up an 18 pk of Bud Light. Inferring that the drunks have found a way around our refusal I decide to handle John myself. I tell John the first no he's buying alcohol for the drunks, so I am exercising my right to refuse service. John gets irate. After arguing with me for a few minutes he spouts some colorful language at me and makes his way out. On his way out he yells a few swear words at a passing customer. Next thing I hear is a female voice screaming honey. Honey. Nah ooh exclamation mark. I see a woman, about 50, grabbing her husband's shirt. Husband is also about 50. I am going to refer to the husband as Dave. Dave has his fists clenched and is marching his way towards John screaming that ain't no way to speak to a lady. Dave's wife stops him before he gets to the door. The couple get in line and I start ringing up customers with another cashier. When Dave and his wife get to my register I thank Dave for being a gentleman, but I am okay. Dave's wife explains that her husband does not tolerate people using foul language to women or mistreating women. In the back of my mind I am thinking that Dave is nuts. John is about the same age as Dave but about a foot taller. John also looks a little more heftier than Dave. Fast forward 2 weeks later and the overnight shift supervisor is dealing with a homeless man. It has 5 a.m. and he will not stop cursing. Every other word out of his mouth is a curse word. He is saying it to the supervisor and cashier, both female, and to a few customers. The supervisor is trying to figure out what to do when Dave comes in. Dave confronts them in a firm tone that ain't no way to speak to a lady. Apologize now. And then starts cursing at Dave. Dave hands him $20 to please get lost and take his dirty mouth back where he came from. Dave specifically mentioned several nearby counties and cities that have a bad homeless problem. Next thing supervisor notices is him running off and Dave has a large cut on his arm. Supervisor offers to call 911 but Dave refuses. He claims he was trying to give him a hug and something on his jacket cut him. Supervisor grabs some first aid supplies for Dave. Dave buys what he came in for along with the first aid supplies even though we said they would be comped. I come in 2 hours later to start the morning shift. Supervisor is telling me the events of the night. We pull up the camera footage and watch the events unfold. I had told the overnight supervisor about Dave, but she had never met him prior to this. I confirmed it was him. Apparently after Dave tried to give him $20, pulled out what looks like a knife. When Dave tried to take the knife, he got cut. We report the incident to higher-ups, stating that Dave did not want to press charges and did not want medical attention. Just to give a perspective. Most of us had heard that cursing is wrong and you don't use it in front of women. However, Dave has been the only one we've ever seen enforce it. We later learned that Dave is the owner and instructor at a mixed martial arts studio and gives free self-defense lessons. So Dave has a few black belts. To Dave and all the men like him, thank you for being gentlemen, but be careful. So today, some guy came up to the service desk at work at like 7:58, it's almost 8 o'clock, and you're out of rotisserie chickens. So I'm like, oh, that sucks or whatever, figuring I might double check with him, and he's like, no, I already checked. He's still standing there, so I'm just all, well, I guess they only make a certain amount per day, and if they're out, and he still won't say anything or walk away, and finally he just says, you guys have a policy saying if you don't have any before 8, it's free. Now I'm flummoxed because that's the first I've heard of it in 16 years of working here. I'm assuming he has the wrong store, but I flagged down a manager just in case as he's fumbling with his phone. Naturally, he has confused our store for our competitors, and when he realizes his mistake, he now just stands there at the desk, randomly laughing nervously at his mistake. Like, haha, 15 seconds later, haha. Now I'm trying to think if he came here on purpose at this exact time hoping we wouldn't have a chicken so he could get a freebie, and it's now way too late to drive to the correct store. So this happened today. And it was just so wild and funny, I have to share. So for those who may not have seen my previous posts, I work as a delivery driver for a building supply store. I've never had any issues with those I deliver to, because if something is wrong with their order, I just point out that I am just given the paper of what to deliver, and where to go, or I admit if I forgot something. They understand that and direct their frustrations at the staff who made the order wrong, or if I forget, they appreciate the effort of me arranged to get their missing item ASAP. Today was the first extremely irate customer I had to deal with. Today, a guy ordered close to $3,000 worth of material. They were paying cash when I arrive. So our rule is you get the cash first, then give the material. So I get there, and this guy looked rough. Like either he had been using drugs for years in his life, or still was. I go through the routine, asking him where he wants it placed, etc., then ask for the money. He starts counting off the bills, handing them to me faster than I can verify the amount. At one point, I noticed when he claimed to hand me $400, I saw it was really $350, and pointed that out, but he claimed it was all there. When I count the last amount, I notice $50 were missing. Thinking maybe I miscounted to be safe, I recounted it 3 times. Each time, came up $50 short. Important to note, in order to safely count, I set the money on a cooler which was not directly inside of the customer. But he was there watching the whole time. So I tell the customer who has a friend there that $50 are missing. He claims it shouldn't be out, because he had counted it beforehand. I told him that unfortunately I counted 3 times, and each time, it was short. He starts getting angry, saying that it was correct, that he counted it all beforehand. I hand him the money, saying he can verify. So he counts, and sure enough, it comes up short. He starts saying how he doesn't understand it. He counted everything. Then said I don't know what kind of con job you're trying to pull. I told him I wasn't. Just that $50 are short, and I can't leave any material unless I get the full amount. He gets madder and madder by the second. He points to his friend saying he was there when he counted, which his friend replied I only caught glimpses. And suddenly he says to me, so now you have 2 witnesses against me. I told him everyone is human, we all make mistakes, so maybe he miscounted. I pointed out how I noticed 50 missing when he handed me the 400. He didn't like that. His voice is getting higher and higher, and accuses me of taking the money. He's starting to swear, saying I don't know how to count, or I pocketed the money, just every kind of blame he could think of where I was at fault. most of them involving me stealing from him or conning him. My voice is starting to rise too. I tell him if he's just gonna accuse me and say that stuff, I'll take the order back and he won't get anything. He keeps yelling, so with the money still on the cooler where we counted, I told him all your money is there. You aren't getting your order. As I am walking out, he's yelling, send someone who has effing brains, who knows how to count, and is competent. I am gonna call your boss and get you fired. At this point I had it, and told him to go ahead and call my boss, and his attitude was terrible. He yelled, I have a effing great attitude. I replied, you throwing a tantrum like a 5-year-old. So I got in my vehicle and drove off. As soon as I am back, I inform the staff what happened. At that point, that's when the customer phones. While the worker is dealing with him, since my bosses weren't at the store, I called them to make them aware of the situation. They assured me everything was fine. That I did the right thing. I wasn't worried about that. I just wanted them to be aware of the situation. So the worker got off the phone, saying she was sending one of our other drivers back so I wouldn't have to deal with it. So I warned the driver that the customer was short on money, so be careful. The worker dealing with the call told me what was said. He was making it look like he was the victim. Saying I was accusing him, that I wouldn't let him recount it, and I was the first one to start yelling. My co-worker brought up several points I mentioned about what he said to me, and he said yeah. I was a little rude. I shouldn't have said that. But this just ruined my day. Tell the driver I am sorry. I was just angry because I was being accused of not having all the money. My co-worker pointed out that kind of behavior is not tolerated towards the drivers. And that I was following the rules for not giving an order when I haven't received the full amount. They told the customer that I am extremely competent, and know how to do my job. And that if I say it's short, they believe me. The worker tried keeping control of things and said I am just trying to meet in the middle. We are all human, we all make mistakes. Maybe my driver miscounted, maybe you did. Maybe a bill fell on the floor. All the while, he was trying to make it seem like he was wronged. So my co-worker comes back, with the full amount and the order gone. He explained to me how the $50 was still missing, and that the customer had to go into his wallet for the missing amount. Then the customer went on for 10 minutes about how rude I was, how he doesn't understand why someone would risk their job stealing $50 from a customer. And how he never wants to see me deliver to his place again. My co-worker just told him I am just here to drop this off and get the money. I don't know what happened, what was said or anything like that. I don't know if he said it to the customer or if it was under his breath, but he said as for him not coming back to your place again, the feeling is mutual. Apparently the customer said that he likes everyone at the store, except me, and he expects them to make things right, so if I hear any more, I'll definitely do an update post.